Paula? Is that
Yes, I'm Paula.
Paula?
Yeah, I'm just going to
Okay,
introduce
Paula.
everybody. Hi, everybody. This is Paula. This is Common Book Show. We are here today with some new people. Of course, Richard's a standard Richard person. I'm Paula. James is here, and we have Paul, who's been on the show before, and we have Robert, who has never been on the show before. So we are all here together. Hallelujah.
Welcome, welcome, Robert.
Welcome, Robert.
Oh, thank you, folks. Good to
And
meet everyone.
yes, so today I want to start the Common Book Show with I've been taking a class in mythology, and I've also been doing a lot of extra reading in mythology, and I am right now listening to Stephen Fry's Mythos, and I'm listening to it on Libby, which I have to give a shout out for Libby again. I want to tell the story that I told my granddaughter. I find the myths charming because there are explanations of why things are the way they are before science, before people knew any better. So, in this particular case, Zeus and Hera were getting married. I mean, Hera really wanted to marry Zeus. She wanted control. She wanted to be the queen of the gods. And so they were going to finally get married. Zeus was always running around on Hera. He fathered children with everyone, including when humans came with humans. So he really wasn't a good spouse, but she really wanted to be queen. So they had this wedding feast, and Zeus said, everybody there were no humans at the time. There were just other kinds of entities, nymphs and nereids and things. Everybody bring us a dish that you make, something delicious to eat, and we will judge all of these dishes. And the person or group that makes the best thing, I am going to allow you to make a request of me. And so this was a big deal. He can do anything. Zeus can do anything. So of course everybody wants to win this prize. So they're tasting things, and there's delicious things. There's nuts from trees that the nymphs, or the nereids, who's ever living in the trees. They're bringing him nuts. They're bringing him fruits. They're bringing him all these beautiful things from the earth. And there's one little vial of amber-colored liquid. And there's this creature, and the creature is a fluffy yellow thing. Looks like a bird maybe, but it's got wings, but it's almost impossible that it might fly. So they see this creature, and this creature's offering this gift. So they taste it, and they're like, this is amazing. This is really amazing. We have to tell you, you are going to win the prize for the best thing that you brought us to eat. And so the creature, against all odds, lifts himself up. He's flying with these little wings, and they can't believe it, because it's just this round ball, looks like a ball of fur, and it's flying over, and it lands, and it says, "Oh, I am so happy that I get to make a request of you. I will tell you what I want. You taste how delicious my food is. It's called honey. And it took me 4 weeks to get this small amount in this vial of honey." And she says, when I bring it back to my hive and I store it there, all the animals can smell it in the forest, and all the animals are coming and they're stealing my honey. And it takes me so long, because I have to take the nectar out of every flower. Every little piece of nectar I take, I've got to create this honey. So I want a weapon to kill these people who are stealing my honey. And Zeus says, well, that's not very nice. Of course they want your honey. It's delicious. I can't see that, let me tell you. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Because he didn't say he was going to grant the wish. He said you could make the request.
I see.
So he said, I'm going to make you queen. and I'm going to give you worker bees. And these worker bees are going to go out among the flowers and all the other plants, and they're going to gather the nectar, and they're going to bring it back to you. You're not going to have to do anything anymore. You're just going to be in charge, and they're going to do all the work. All you're going to do is you're going to have you're going to have baby bees, and you're going to just relax and be fed and live a life of luxury. And the bee thought about it and said, that sounds great, but what about my weapon? And he said, well, of course the animals are going to want your honey. That you make such a delicious food, they're going to want this. And she says, well, I want something that I can kill these creatures with. So Zeus thought about it, and he said, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a weapon. It won't kill the animal that's attacking your honey, but it will get them to leave. But you have to die. So the bee, when the bee stings you, it's attached to their stomach, and when they pull out they're pulling out their insides and they die. Mm-hmm. So that was the explanation. I just thought that was so charming. I thought somebody...
It resonates in my life, too. I mean, did you know this about bees? When they sting you, they die? Because when I was a little child and I was at the beach, I got stung by a bee, and my aunt said, take comfort knowing that bee that stung you is now dead. Because once they sting you, they die. And now here we are.
Did it make you feel better as a little kid to know the bee was dead?
60-some years later, I'm hearing the story. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I thought it was such a charming little story. And of course, Stephen Fry look at the bee, and you're being attacked by a bee is bigger than your head. So I just thought he's a good storyteller, and I know the way he tells the stories are just, it's a little bit, he embellishes, he embellishes. He'll talk about, he won't read it like it's written. He will embellish, and he does a great job, and I love that story. So yes,
Stephen Fry.
I am deep in my mythology. I was going to bring my Robert Graves book. I got a really nice folio edition, Robert Graves. It's dry as dust, but it's full of information.
Stephen Fry. What's his name? Stephen Fry.
Stephen Fry with a PH. He's
yeah.
He is a British actor, and he's charming, and he's an intellectual guy for an actor. But the book
I'll have to look him up.
The book is cool. But
I mean, when you said that strikes a chord with me. I'm a fan of. There's a lady, Edith Hamilton.
Oh yeah, Edith Hamilton.
I've had her whole. Yeah. She's awesome, and Joseph Campbell is obviously.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell, but Robert Graves is one of these people. He does he'll tell the myth, and then he'll give you 2 pages of footnotes telling you what was going on in history at the time this myth was created, and what the military things were like, and it's really, I read about 2 pages before I go to sleep, and it's just enough. It fills my head. I'm surprised I'm not having weirder dreams. But I'm enjoying that too, but not as much as Stephen Fry. He's great. So are you now? I tell us a little bit about why you're with us, Robert.
Oh, well, this form, my friend James here.
Yeah, the other times he tried to get in, he couldn't get in on the Zoom.
Yeah, he told me you guys have an interesting forum, guys, and essentially, long story short, I used to be in Buffalo. We grew up together in Buffalo.
Okay.
A Buffalo Academy. Performing arts, and so then after school and all that, I went to college, graduated, and came down in Houston, Texas. That's my home now. And so I'm here in the 90. It's like 80 degrees now, 75. So
well,
so just sitting here and door open, windows open, I got the. I got to have the air conditioning going because it's like.
How did you
guys,
get to Texas?
I worked. I left when I left Pittsburgh. I went to. I'm sorry. When I left Buffalo, I went to Pittsburgh. Went to Carnegie Mellon. Got my degree there. Then everybody was leaving and making money. I remember in the 90s, and I said, "Gee, why am I not doing this?" And all my friends are like, "Because you're staying there." So I left Pittsburgh, went to Washington. Then the West opened up, Colorado and Florida, and so I just took my fingers, pointed at a map, and said, "I want to be there." And Houston and Dallas were big on oil and gas. That's why I do Shell and Exxon, my clients. And it was like never turning back. I go back. I love Buffalo, Bills fan, all that stuff. But here, like I said, it was just opportunity.
How do you feel about the Texas?
Yeah, is there a conservative element that you're exposed to?
Well, I have to show you guys this is everybody. You do this or you don't, So that's it.
So you have to. Are you a Trump supporter or are you somebody that doesn't want to get beat up?
Well, yeah, I put it this way. I'm a member of these guys. So
all right.
Most people do not. They will not come in my abode.
Okay.
I've been that way. I mean, essentially, guys, in Buffalo, I grew up in the James Gray. We grew up in the 70s. I grew up in a very rough part of. It was East Buffalo, and that's called Genesee, Bailey, Genesee, and Moselle.
Yeah, I know
so
that area.
that, right?
I had an apartment there for a while. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What year were you there?
In 77, 76, 77, I lived on, oh my goodness, what was the name of that street? It was 2 blocks, it was near May Street, off of, near May, what the, Gimbel.
Oh.
It was Gimbel Street, right by Stan's Tavern.
Yes.
Do you know this place?
Okay. That sounds familiar. See, that whole area she's speaking of, you see, back then, guys, in the 70s, in Kilhofer, and we had these gangs. They came in from New York. Yeah. And so they had these guys, they were like the Fillmore, Fillmore Street, everybody's Fillmore Allen, the Fillmore Allen Turks. You had the French Street Flyers, and they would beat the crap out of you. And so I remember growing up in that. I lived on Winslow, and there was down Fillmore, so you grew up fighting. Yeah. And my mom said, anybody bothers you, you take that brick and you take that bottle and you go upside their head. And that's how I grew up. I'm serious. My dad, he's a Korean War veteran. He told me he used to live over on Delavan and Grider. I never remember this. Yeah. My dad used to keep always he kept his service revolver from Korea in his left leg, and he used to always have his bullets out on the table.
It was my understanding that those gangs that came in from New York, they were drug dealing gangs.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, and that's how that neighborhood started. I mean, it was different, because those guys came in from Brooklyn and from Queens, and they found a blank slate. They found a blank slate for their product.
Everybody owned their houses.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
She's right.
Right.
She's right. They found that blank slate, and then those blacks stopped doing what my grandfather was essentially illiterate. He had 4th grade and 5th grade education. He left South Carolina, moved up to Buffalo, and he bought 4 houses. And it was a Jewish gentleman who would only sell them those houses. And he bought it on French Street. And we thought we were rich. I didn't know the difference. It's like we had a backyard, and there was other blacks who were either on welfare. And they were nice people, but they just couldn't get their stuff together. Well, so I realized that. So I was friends with them.
It's really hard. If you come from a long line of thinking that you can't do something, it's hard to get into your head that you can. It's really hard.
I couldn't change them. I couldn't tell them, hey, look, we're in the same, you're just across the street from me. You guys can go down to the library on Genesee Street, on Moselle, that library used to have, and read those books. And they couldn't do it.
Do you know what? I grew up in Lovejoy, which the reputation of Lovejoy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I grew up in Lovejoy, and the thing is, I had to pretend I wasn't smart, because if I was
Wow.
smart, I would have gotten picked on. So I
Oh,
did
wow.
not read a whole book until I got out of high school. I mean, I could read.
My God.
I
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
I could read, but I didn't want to be one of those bookworms, and I didn't want to be classified in that way. So, I just laid low, and it was, but
Wow.
nobody, and those people are still thinking those same thoughts, the same thoughts their parents told them, and the same thoughts that their grandparents told them. They're still in the same place. They couldn't lift themselves out of that because, first of all, they didn't value knowledge.
That's right.
How do you get somebody to value knowledge?
See, Paula, that's the problem. And I would tell other blacks that. Don't be racist. I can't help it. I got friends who are black, white. There was a Japanese family used to live down the street from me. His nickname was King. Little Japanese kid. He was a nice kid. And I was friends with him. But I told him, you guys got to stop this fighting. Because there was busing, guys. You remember in 1972 to 1974?
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters got in a lot of fights. And there was the sheriff out there, and they'll get off that bus, you N-word, and they'd be out there fighting. But when I went to school, I looked somebody right in the face and said, you got a problem with me, you say it to me. Say it to my face. And
Yeah.
it's things stop. And therefore I say, let's be friends. I don't care about your color.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot, and other blacks couldn't do that.
But
I don't know why.
It feels bad not to be liked.
It does.
It feels bad not to be liked. What can you do?
Were you picked on,
You know-
Paula? Did they try to?
Well, I was picked. Yeah, I was picked on for a few
Oh.
reasons, but I figured out how to
Oh,
be popular.
sorry.
I figured out how to be popular, and then I just followed what I saw, and then I figured out, ooh, this kind of sucks because these people are assholes. And then I went on with my life. But, I had to go through that first, like watching what people did to be popular, right? And then acting like them. And then when they were picking on the kids that I used to hang around with, that's when I had to let go. It's like, nah, there's nothing
Good
wrong with
girl.
those. Yeah. Anyway, we usually,
Yeah.
we follow. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, you'd love Newfoundland. There's no racism.
There's no.
I'm sorry.
There's no racism in Newfoundland. Are there other races besides white?
Oh, absolutely. There's
There's
everybody from there's everybody from Africa, Jamaica, Asian, all different countries, England, Scotland.
I would be interested in asking those people what they thought about if there's racism in Newfoundland.
I spoke with many people, and they all get along. You'll never go into an establishment, and you'll never hear anybody bashing somebody's race or anything derogatory toward any other people. Everybody gets along. There's no animosity
Well,
toward anything.
I know Canada's way better about things than we are here.
Well, not even Canada. I mean, Toronto. It's not. I don't like Toronto that much, but in Newfoundland, it's an isolated area
Yeah,
that
yeah, and I know
everybody is
that
willing
whole
to help.
story about the people that landed on the airplane there. That was a really nice story, and they everybody took them in, and maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a panacea, but
And where is this at, sir? Where is it?
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
In Newfoundland. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
be interesting to,
Wow.
to,
So
to talk
everybody
about.
thinks it's some crazy country, but it's part of Canada. So Newfoundland and Labrador. So it's
Cool.
it's most easterly point in North America, and a lot of history is there. So
Yeah, it is.
but it's a very kind, small communities. A lot of small communities combined. And it's just you can leave your doors open.
Well,
I mean, there's obviously there's
small
petty thefts
doesn't
that go on.
always small it doesn't always equate to kind. Sometimes
Well, no,
it is.
but what I'm saying is, it's as the communities, they're all willing to help each other out.
I'm gonna have to come. We told you
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were gonna come visit you someday, so we'll just pop
I
in.
said you should. Yeah, well, I said do it.
All right. So listen, we normally have this. We have a format. We have something. Richard, what is on your list today?
Fargo.
Oh, the show. Greg watches it.
That'll go down as one of the great series in history.
Yeah, he likes this new one.
Series 4, fantastic. I want to show a clip from Fargo.
Sure.
So we have a small town. We have a small town sheriff
Yeah.
who is charged with basically everything, right? Arrest, counselor, everything. Judge, you know what I mean? Like he is in charge of everything. He gets called on a domestic violence.
What's that? Did we hear?
I heard somebody say something. Was it you,
I
Paul?
said one horse. Oh, I said a one horse town.
One horse town. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets called on a domestic violence situation,
Okay.
and he's got to handle the fact that this husband is beating up his wife. So he says, "Come on, sit down with me at the diner, and I will sort this out." Look at the advice and the way he handles the problem. And my question to you is, do you think when he's done, he has solved the problem?
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here. Mr. Windsor, we have no volume.
Under him, the woman abides. She holds her virtue close until that matrimonial threshold is crossed, and then she opens to it, as the flower opens to the sun.
And in exchange, the man shelters and protects his female as the sword has its sheath.
Okay, but what I'm saying is
No, he only raises his hand to her when she forgets her place and acts the man, and then only for instruction, never taking any pleasure or satisfaction from the task. Whereas you, son, seem to have played a Tommy Lee drum solo all over your missus's facade.
I fell is all.
Hey, quiet now. Sheriff's talking.
Come here. Take comfort. Daughter, these hard times are over. All right? I'll see to your husband's instruction myself.
What instruction?
Now be honest. You ever question your man's supremacy when he speaks?
It's just when he drinks or with the crank, I try to stay out of the way, but don't hurt him. We got 3 boys who need a daddy.
Okay.
Someone doesn't know how to do a proper Cobra clutch. You should have passed that.
Thank you. You got any of that huckleberry pie?
Sure.
That's great.
Look at Dick Cheese. I know you.
Quiet. Go home. Fix a meal. Pray on it before you take the first bite. Forgiveness. Tend to his burns. Try to be deferential. Cater to his needs as a man with your mouth in order to sow harmony. I'll come by in the morning and see if the lesson's stuck. Go on. Go.
Oh, that's
Did he do more harm or more good?
all right. First of
No
all,
harm.
as the token woman here,
Whose show it is?
I have to say, what was all that bullshit about being deferential and not what is okay? There's a lot to talk about here. All right, I think that the guy may think twice before he hits her again if that's what's going to happen, but I mean, is it a good way to handle it? Not really, no. The fact that this woman is concerned that something's going to happen to him and he's not going to be around to father their children, she needs to have her head examined if he's beating her. And this sheriff has got ideas like from the 15th century, be deferential.
Look at the time. Look at the time period this was taking place.
It's taking place now,
It's not,
isn't it?
no, that's not. No,
That's not.
Hey,
Yes.
That's now. That's modern.
Yeah.
It's modern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
modern.
Really,
So-
it looks like they were back in the backwoods country
Yeah,
of the
because
1950s.
because they're in a different area of in Fargo, North Dakota. I mean, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
His explanation to this woman and this man about when it was okay to hit a woman that's that's maybe did he think that, is that the way his character is? Did he think that that's the only way that he could talk to this couple because they're not bright enough to understand that they can communicate without talking, or have
A relationship is a dance. He has
that
his part.
doesn't involve punching.
Here's the problem. Do women have any responsibility?
Of course.
Okay, so he is addressing both sides. You as the woman have the responsibility to be your man's peace, because there's nothing that can rouse a man more than a woman who's talking a certain way.
But there's nothing wrong with being that person who creates a space for, okay, in a traditional marriage, and I'm not saying anything against traditional marriages. If you're the wife, let's just talk about the roles of each. If you're the wife and you don't go out to work, okay, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a stay-at-home, you keep the house. That's your job. That's what's keeping you fed and keeping you alive. That's your job. Yes, your husband is. It's not that you're deferring to him. It's just that you're doing your part of the bargain. He's going out in the world, which is a hard thing to do, earning money and making sure that there's enough money for food, to take care of the kids, and to run a life, run two lives, or how many lives with those kids. If that's his job, and you don't have to do that, your job is to make sure that he comes home to a peaceful house, a meal. That's your job. That's what's getting you paid in life.
And I'm glad to hear you say that. Now, what's the consequence if a woman does not do her job?
Not to be hit.
I'm asking you, what is the consequence?
The consequence is for the man to say, look, this is the way, this is what I do, and this is what you do. And if you can't accept that, then we can't be in this relationship. If people aren't cooperating, you don't have to stay together. There's no law saying you can't separate.
Exactly. And what happens when a married couple separates?
It depends on the situation.
Who pays the consequences?
Well, in this case, if the woman was not working, but I know women who
pays the consequences.
I know women who pay alimony.
Yeah, Adele too. But most of the time.
Yes.
Most of the time, it is the woman who is leaving the relationship, and it's the guy who's paying the consequences.
It's like it's like a 4-year window where you are told that you have to figure out how to make yourself employable. It's a 4-year window for alimony, not for child support.
In what state?
In New York State.
In Florida, it was forever until recently.
Not for child support.
Alimony was forever in Florida until recently.
Well, I don't know about Florida. Florida's a weird state. I don't live there.
I'm just saying, a woman can default on the agreement, and the person who pays the most consequence up front will.
But do you think, James, please don't say yes to this, because you're going to really disappoint me. You're going to break my heart.
I won't have to say yes because you'll interrupt me anyway. Go ahead.
Do you think it's okay for a man to hit a woman?
This is not a question that can be answered in a yes or no kind of way. You know why?
Well, I'm saying if the woman is not hitting the man. If the woman hits the man has a right to defend himself. I agree with that.
Well, it works both ways.
So now where are we going to go with this?
Where is there to go?
I'm saying.
Yeah, you gave your preamble to the question.
If a woman is not a violent person and a man is beating her, is that okay?
Here's the thing I would say to that. If you see a man and woman going down the street and the woman is beating the guy, what is it that everybody says?
I wouldn't be.
Most people say, I wonder what he did to deserve that.
But it's not, nobody should.
But that's the knee-jerk reaction, Paula.
But nobody should lay hands. No, I don't.
I didn't say that they should, but I'm saying if a woman is beating a guy in public, People don't say she shouldn't do that. They don't try to stop her.
It's
They say, I wonder what he did to deserve that.
It's possible that a lot of people do think that. I don't agree with that assessment because I know women and I know men, and I know that that's not always a man. First of all, if the man was doing something to her that was bad, then wouldn't he be hitting her back under those circumstances?
Not necessarily. Half funny story. I have a friend who one day was running down the street wielding a baseball bat, running down Genesee Street, wielding a baseball bat after a guy. A cop is sitting at the red light, watches the two of them run by. He just sits in his car laughing. And the woman says, "Could you go get that guy?" Oh, now he's getting involved. Now, the funny thing is, if he did nothing, she could have chased this guy down and beat his brains out.
Wait a minute. The woman had the baseball bat?
Yes.
I missed that part of the story. I thought it was a guy chasing a guy.
See? It's just built in. It's got to be the guy.
Well,
but you will be happy to know she had a reason to chase this guy with a baseball bat. Just so happens that about a year previous...
He forgot it when he was going to the baseball game? No.
A year previous, he and some friends did some really bad things to this woman, and the police did nothing about it. But now, the cop sees her running down the street with a baseball bat. She says, "Get that guy." He gets that guy, and he and his friends all ended up going to jail. But my point is this. If a guy was chasing a girl down the street with a baseball bat, a cop would not sit in his car and laugh.
I agree with you, and I don't think they should have laughed at the woman thing either, because, you know, if women are looking to be treated equally, that should be part of it.
Except that they're not looking to be treated equally. They're looking to be treated special when they want to be, and traditional when they don't want to take responsibilities and do hard stuff.
I just keep telling you, James, you know the wrong women. You just know the wrong women.
Or there is a very large contingent that is at least 50.001% who are exactly like I say they are.
There's a lot of creepy women. There's also a lot of creepy men.
No one argues that there are creepy men.
No,
everyone seems to have a problem with the idea that there are creepy women.
As a woman, I agree with you. There are creepy women. They're women I wouldn't want to be friends with. Most of them are the ones you talk about.
Robert, do you think that the sheriff solved the problem?
Well, I don't. Here's the thing: it didn't seem he solved it democratically. I mean, to me, well, remember he's going in there, and he's being a judge, and he's being a jury, and that's not how a system is supposed to be. It's just not. People I know in law enforcement are supposed to keep the peace, and therefore I couldn't side with, for instance, Paula or James if they were married. I would have to say, I have to separate you two. You're both right.
Do you want to know? That would be the best sitcom ever.
But I have to take both of their sides, you see. So I think he should have been he was a bit more heavy-handed by going in there and being very forceful. I think he should have been more. He has to still be. That's not what law enforcement is supposed to be. If it's their job, then that's fine. But that's not, from what I understand of Miranda rights, your Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment.
Yeah. You know, and that's a good point, because I was just thinking about the horrifying male-female dynamic going on there. that was where my head, because we all see things differently, right? We all come from a different perspective, and we can't all of us could watch. All of us did watch this. How about you, Paul? What do you think happened with that? With
You think the sheriff solved the problem, Paul?
No, no, he.
You think it's going to
I think he made
recur?
it. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he made it worse because now he's like, "What did you get me into?" And, you threw hot coffee in my face. He's tried to strangle me. Now he's got to go beat the fuck out of her when he gets home, because that's what I see going to happen. But and then again, it's a movie, so
yeah,
right.
It is
Things like that don't happen.
But no,
yeah.
they do.
Well, not with the cop. I mean, not with the cop. Not
No,
with that.
well, I don't know.
The violence happens between couples, obviously, but for the cop to go into a coffee shop and bring somebody to strangle the guy and throw coffee in his face.
And they're in a public place, and it's obvious. I mean, he's got witnesses, so
Right.
it probably wouldn't happen exactly like that. It might happen in a car.
Speaking of women,
Yeah.
here, see this picture?
Yes, it's a beautiful picture. What?
He sees the form of a woman.
Oh, let's see.
It's in a tree.
I do see a crotch.
Crotch. Woman's got her
Some
arms
boobs.
like this.
And the boobs.
Yeah.
The boobs
Her
are-
legs,
Yeah,
her
I
legs
see.
are-
Oh, in the
Yeah.
arms. Yeah, that is. You're right.
In the arm.
You are right. That is a very interesting tree.
Interesting Rorschach approach.
Wow,
That's cool.
that is cool.
Caught my eye. I was looking through
Yeah, I
it,
bet it did.
No, I mean, I wasn't, I
You
didn't
weren't
really,
lusting after that tree.
no, I wasn't, I really didn't pay attention to it until I actually got home and looked at it on the computer.
Oh, I
And I'm
know
like,
that.
Hey, I said, hey, this looks like a nature's woman tree.
I love
So-
love when that happens though. When you get, especially now with digital.
And this is at
photography.
Lockport. This was in Lockport
Yeah.
walking trails, and I seen that. I was
Oh,
like,
they have
hey.
nice trails there. They really do. Who were you out in Lockport with?
I was out that day by myself.
Yeah. There's some nice trails in Lockport.
Now, going back to your mythology thing, isn't that the kind of thing that ancient people would look at that tree and maybe make up a story?
Oh, absolutely.
How somebody got cursed or something?
Right.
and-
They were.
Well, it's interesting enough. I call that Sleepy Hollow tree, and there's a bench that's sitting off to the side of it. You can't see it in the picture,
Yeah.
but there's a park bench there, and there's some names and stuff carved in it. So people would sit there and ponder over this tree, I guess.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that they'd say, oh, this is the shape of a woman. It must have been a woman who was transformed by a god. She was running away
sure.
from. There's all kinds of rape and mayhem and
Right.
I mean, if you want it, it's even worse than the Old Testament. There's a lot of mayhem going on in the Greek myths, but yeah, that would definitely be something that I could see somebody making up a story about.
Sure.
But yeah, so here we are now. So where have you been? You still in Buffalo? You were here last week, right? So
I'm a glamorous vagabond.
glamorous vagabond. I could come up with a story about that. That's good. Glamorous vagabond. That brings all kinds of mental images up. Like,
Well, although I own property, it could be said that I'm homeless because I don't actually sleep in the same place continuously.
well, I don't want to hear about that.
Well, we're both in the same boat. I'm a person without a country right now.
Yeah, right now Paul is between countries, not just between states.
Right.
He's more international. Yeah, we got another displaced person here who's in Texas.
Where is he at? Where are you at, Paul?
I'm in Buffalo right now.
Oh,
but he lives in,
I've been-
yeah.
Yeah, the whole story behind that was the government messed up my paperwork. For Canada, I was applying for residency there, and they got it all screwed up. And they said, well, I got to be here for the next 6 months, and then I can come back. I'm like, so I've been here since June.
wow.
Yeah, so that your life is back in where, what would you say, Shangri-La, where there's no racism.
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's
All you folks are in Buffalo, though, right? You, Paula, you
Yeah.
calling
Yeah,
the gentleman
we're
up to the.
yeah, we are all in Buffalo. Oh, and my son Tom on drums over there. I forgot to mention him because
Oh.
I get so whacked out when I get so many guests and I have to remember everybody's name.
Oh, okay.
But Richard, well, okay, so give us another topic.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes.
All right.
There you go. That's a good one.
Which of these two cartoons is more predictive of the future? All right. Is it this one? You know, the man says to the computer, come on, your stupid thing work. Eventually, computers will be dominating us. All right. So is it that one?
Okay.
Or will it be more like this? Your car called 911 to report you for speeding.
I think this one.
I can see that both being
I would say
very
both.
accurate.
One is the long term and one is the short term.
Yeah, I imagine that the cars will be controlling how fast we go, and they probably won't even let us go any
There's
faster.
no good in that.
I like to go fast.
We've already exactly, and we want you to because we already got you idiots signed up for Easy Pass. So we're not gonna pull you over. We're just gonna deduct the money off of your credit card through your Easy
Right.
Pass.
Right.
Send you
I
a letter
like it.
about it later.
Yeah.
I like Easy Pass.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I
opposed to
say
Easy
the
Pass.
first one. The first cartoon is what's gonna happen. They're gonna be the robots are gonna say,
They're going to be in charge.
yeah, I can see it for sure. Just like all the movies they've made. Well, that perfect example, that movie Robot.
I'm sorry,
sorry,
Al.
robot.
I can't do that.
Yeah, right. And of course, I can see where someone will hack these robots, let them become to the point where they will commit violence and exterminations and things like
they have to
that.
Be, yeah, it's gonna be a dark time, but we're not gonna be here. I don't think it's gonna be.
No, that's a couple generations from now, it
So-
will be.
So, Paul, this picture
Thanks.
that's behind you now, is that taken like at a racetrack someplace or something?
Yeah, it's in Irving, New York. It's called Big Indian Drift Pit, and so the owner, the car that you see there is
Yeah.
the owner of that track, and they do a lot of drifting there all summer long. So I was invited there to take some pictures, and they became buddy. So then they gave me a media pass where I'm actually out. I'm behind the wall because I wanted a picture of the dog, but I'm usually out on the track right where
Yeah.
the cars are. And the cars are usually going by me like 5 feet away from me. And,
It looks very, very painterly, that picture. The dog and the wall and the man in the foreground. It's a whole different texture than the paint than the picture in the back. How did that happen? Do you have
Well, because that's all smoke. So they're spinning their tires, and there's all kinds of smoke back there. That's why it looks that way.
Oh, so it's giving.
And there's a
atmosphere,
spotlight
yeah.
directly. There's like a street light directly above me. That's why the dog's all lit up nice. And
Really,
so I
really
figured,
nice. I like this shot a lot. This is a really interesting.
Because, like she said, it doesn't look. It looks like it's in different times, actually.
Yeah,
The way
yeah.
it's
Right,
really
right.
cool. It's like moving through different dimensions.
Yeah, it looks like a
Right.
collage. It doesn't. It doesn't
Exactly.
look like a real picture. It looks like a collage of two different images.
so a great thing out of this whole thing was they actually offered me a ride during one of the races, and I'll tell you.
How cool!
But you know what? I won't do it again. It's so rough. I felt when I got out. Thank God the race was only 5 minutes, and I got out of the car and I thought I got thrown down a flight of stairs. It's like, oh my God, this is how you can you? But it's all kids, so they can handle
Yeah,
it.
I had a.
I'm 64 years old.
Well,
So
I had a pit pass at Lancaster Speedway when I was 15.
right.
I used to help my boyfriend fix his car because my boyfriend used to drive stock
Well,
car.
here's the picture. So I took that picture.
Well,
so I was
those
in the
aren't
race.
stock cars, those are
No, those are drift cars.
Yeah.
They're privately owned. So the ride I got was in the green car.
yeah.
So the green car, and I was during this race. Not this particular race because I took that picture, but it was a race against that car. And
Oh,
I had
so
my
it
cell
was
phone. So I
actually-
did a video.
It was
Yeah, I did a
actually
bit-
during a race. It wasn't just a ride on the
Oh
track.
no, I got to go.
Oh
during the
wow!
race.
So you could have hit a wall or something. It's a
Well,
little
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
I would have done it.
So right where this car, so if you look at the red car, I was standing just on the side of that car, probably 5 feet when I took that picture.
Wow.
And I had a concrete barrier in front of me, but I was right there in the middle of the track. But amazing. I mean, these guys are real talented. And it was a good time. It was
And
an experience I'll never.
Where did you say this was?
Irving, New York. It's called Big Indian Drift Pit, and it's the Big Indian Reserve gas station. It's
Irving.
behind the gas station.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Irving.
I know where Irving is.
Irving Sunset Bay. It's in
Yeah,
Irving.
that's where I used to rent a cottage out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Very.
It
cool.
has to be that way, though. Think about it. It has to be that way because, well, speaking of what gentleman just said about AI, if you make this AI, there's no challenge in it. It's like watching a
Right.
video game. But if you put people in there, that could be a death, which means that
Right.
I am now fascinated because we are all fascinated with mortality. For instance,
Right.
Boston Dynamics, as you guys might have known, that's a company that's using the artificial intelligence to kill people because they actually have these. They look like walking dogs. They're giant computer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
is
I've
on
seen
their-
them in New
Yeah,
York.
you've
They've
seen
got
those.
them in New York.
Yes, they have them in New York, and they send these things out. They're now actually. A lot of people. You can't see this because it's top secret, but they're using them in Ukraine now, and they have drones
Well,
that can
using
kill
drones.
people. We use.
Well, look at
They're using drones, but that's a form of AI. Think about it. It actually knows, it memorizes what it killed and what location. So it can actually go back there and do more damage if it has to.
That's
If
terrifying.
this
It's funny.
actually goes into a, yes, think about that. So
It's
that's the new
terrifying,
AI that
yeah.
this gentleman is talking about. It's here.
Well, I
And-
have the latest drone because I do a lot of drone photography and video. So my
Oh,
drone,
wow.
what I just purchased now, it has face recognition, tracking, so I can actually put the drone up in the air, have it focus on my picture or me or whatever other object I want, and put the controller away, and it will follow it wherever it goes, and video it or take pictures of it or whatever I tell it to do.
Yeah, that's a little scary too because that's the next you're being
Yeah.
well, we're being surveilled now and you can't drive down the street without a camera taking your picture because you went through a yellow light. I mean,
Well, everybody on the World Wide Web is watching you right now if they were all tuned in. So yeah.
hi everyone.
Come on, Paula, give us
they have
that
access.
first picture.
Oh
Flash
God.
us some
What's that?
cleavage.
I actually had a question that was forming in my head and I wanted to ask you, Robert, that picture that you have of the cowboy and the Native American on the horse behind you.
Oh, yes.
Is that an interest of yours or is it just a pretty picture that you liked? Oh, they're both Native Americans. Okay.
Yes, that's right. There's two Native American folks, and they're just going into the sunset. I like that. James, no, I went to a real short story since I went to Performing Arts, Buffalo Academy of Visual Performing Arts. James was an actor, and I was a painter and drawer, and I do sculpture. And I won stuff like that. I do sew paintings, and I love artwork. The Michelangelo, all of the classics, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when I saw this picture, I saw it in Walmart. And I was walking and
known
the
for
lady
its
over
fine art, yeah.
known for his fine arts. The lady in fabric said, she said, "Hey, can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I want that. I want that burlap. It's just a piece of burlap." And I was trying to decorate my house, so I was like, I don't want to paint. Too daggone lazy. So I just started putting up burlap all over my house, and this was one of them. And so I started cutting them in sections, and I said, "Oh, this would be nice as a picture."
Yeah.
And I don't have to paint it myself. And it just,
So it wasn't a specific interest in Native American culture or anything. It was just something you liked the way it looked.
Yeah, this is something I would paint. I love this guy I always remember the Indian. You guys remember the Indian who would cry because we were damaging the earth?
Yeah.
It was the 1970s.
Yeah, I remember
commercial.
that.
Yeah, only you. It was like, so it would always remind me that it was very sad. And like the gentleman back there, like this Paul, he has this beautiful sunset
That's,
with all this. I paint stuff. I love that.
That's
Reinstein.
Reinstein
Reinstein,
Park.
wow. That is gorgeous.
That's a really nice shot. We talked about this
Wow.
one before. This one was up last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful shot. I love those
That's beautiful.
reflective. Those reflecting in the water. That's so
Yeah.
peaceful.
Robert, I
Paula,
have a
there's another-
question about sculpting.
Yes.
One of the most famous sculptors who ever lived, Auguste Rodin, you know, the thinker.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
He was constantly working and working and working. You know, it was his life. And if you were a student or you knew him, you'd want to get his critique on something you did. So you would invite him to your studio, or if it was small, you would bring it to him. What do you think he would do when he would get in the presence and he wanted to critique your creation?
What Rodin would do when he wanted.
Yes. So Rodin,
Wow.
steps into the room and he sees your thing you sculpted. What do you think he would do next before he would give you his critique?
He'd walk around it.
Close. He would walk around
but-
it. But you know what he would do? He would touch it
Oh.
like a blind person.
Oh.
Because his way of relating to sculpting had ingrained in his mind that a piece of sculpture is like a relationship between touch and form.
Well, it kind of is
Wow.
when you're doing the sculpting. It really is, isn't it? You know, if you're
Yes.
sculpting out of wood or no matter what you're using, what medium you're using your hands. Huh.
Yeah.
And he said that's very important. That's because right now that's traditional, guys. You know, I went to in Canada, Toronto. There's the what is it, Henry Clay. They have up by the Eaton Center. It's not too far from the Eaton Center. There's a museum of modern
Yeah, I
it's
know.
Henry Clay.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I don't remember the
Yes,
name though.
and I went there. My teacher took us there, you know, and to the museum, and it's physical stuff. You know, he does stuff maybe kind of it's more like Picasso-esque, you know, but it's still shapes and forms, like the gentleman is saying. And so you want to go and touch it, or you look at Michelangelo. But unfortunately, we started moving into things that are like installation pieces. You folks know what installations are, right?
Yes.
Right. You can't touch some of this stuff. I remember I went to the Andy Warhol, well, in Pittsburgh.
Oh
that's Andy
yeah,
Warhol.
that's a great museum. That's one of my favorites.
You've been there.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been there, but some of the stuff, I love some of his sculptures, but you know, to your point, you can't touch everything now that's modern. That was a problem with me because I was like, I want to touch it.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
it's not real.
Send off
Some of
the
it's
buzzers.
3D.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or some of it was not real, guys. It was
Oh.
actually like it was 3D images. It was just a hologram.
Oh, cool.
And I was said, how can you call a hologram sculpture? And they've been redefining things,
Well,
you know?
just like
so it's
Dada.
interesting what
Yeah,
he said.
yeah.
Yes, it's interesting what you say that I'm from the school of, like he said, if it was Rodin, I'm from that school. It's real, it's physical, it's a thing. But now we're getting into things that are supposed to be conceptual. I've always had a problem with the art world in that. I got in a lot of arguments with my fellow artists, but that's another story. But it's like, what is art? You know, if you see a baby, I painted a picture and this one guy came up to me and said, that is so cool, man. That's art. It's a woman holding a baby. She's holding her newborn baby and she's just sitting in a chair. Beautiful sunset. And he saw this other piece. I was working at an art fair and he said, what is that, man? He said, don't get me wrong. He said, I don't like all that Picasso crap. And I didn't say anything. I just listened to the guy. He was a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, he's the salt of the earth. He's not supposed to know what I know. So the reason why something is art is because you say it so, Paul.
Yeah, and
That's why.
right, and not everyone's going to be and it doesn't mean, you know, I mean, yes, okay, I understand the more you know, the more you can appreciate different forms of art, but I still remember the first time I brought my mother to the Albright Knox, and we went up to the second floor where it's all, you know, abstract painting. And my mother, not being a demure woman, walks in and she throws her arms up in the air and she says, "This is art!" at the top of her lungs. And the guard comes over to her and he comes over really close and he whispers in her ear. He says, "I don't like it either." And I just that was the first time she'd ever been to the Albright Knox. She was in her, I guess she was in her 70s at the time, and I just, it never occurred to me that my mother had never been to the art gallery before.
Robert, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that art, whether it intends to or not, brings us closer to understanding the world or pushes us farther away? For example, look at this cartoon. I thought this was very interesting. A baby is about to be born, and the doctor is showing this idyllic scene so that the baby gets this perception that the world is a much nicer place than it really is.
Than where they are, which looks like war zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's is that Far Side?
I don't know.
No, I don't.
Found it
I
somewhere.
think
No.
it's too dark to be. I mean, Far Side, it can be dark, I guess. Yeah.
That is cool. Well,
So what's your opinion? You think art moves us closer or farther away from the real world?
okay, that's an interesting question. I think it's the intent. Let's put it this way: the intent is to move us further away, because when we see the world for what it is, most of us can't handle it because it's so vicious and it can be very vile. And it's not. I don't know if it's intentionally that made by our creator, or maybe it's that way by nature, whichever one you want. But if you have to, when you see a lion attack a zebra baby and tear it to pieces, it's what it is. Bambi has to die, so Bambi is food for other higher predators. I didn't like that as a kid, but now that I get older, it's the way it is. But my artwork allows me to say, hey, the world should be.
To create
Not
your
that
own
way, but
reality.
Exactly.
To
And so
create-
it moves us further away because it has to. It has
Yeah.
to insulate me from the truth if I can't handle it. Paula, some people can't handle truth, and that's why they become unstable or unhinged, unfortunately. So art can make you happy. I can show you a very beautiful picture, Paula. Not you, but I'm just saying somebody, a beautiful picture, and they're like, now I'm happier, and they go out and do a good thing.
Uplifting. You're into the uplifting part. Yeah, I think that a lot of art does bring it. I always think that art is trying to communicate the way we see the world.
See, he doesn't see the dead flowers. He wants people to remember them in all their beauty.
I just threw those flowers away today. I just replaced them with some new ones. But I think that because we all perceive differently, we have a hard time connecting. And so if we can show each other, like through art or poetry or music, the way we see the world, then maybe somebody can understand us better. So as an artist, you're showing how you see things, and then it can make people understand you. And I think that's a big part of at least for me, I want to be understood on a deeper level. And so I create things,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a selfish reason. I think there's other artists who want you to see, well, maybe, but they're showing what they see. You can't make a piece of art that's not how you see.
Look at Robert Mapplethorpe. You folks all remember that guy? He put Jesus in the piss thing of, he was the photographer, and Robert Mapplethorpe, and he had the little girls who were like 6 years old, and he was photographing them in very suggestive ways, and he got in all this, created incredible controversy. Remember, that was in the 90s, Robert Mapplethorpe. And people said, is that art? Is this guy sick? You see, then you say, well, how do you approach that?
Yeah, well,
Paula?
I think that you have to see there's a concept. There's no difference between the painter and the painting. So the painting or the other artwork is an extension of the person who made it. And this was something that I was given in a philosophy class when I was doing some. It was a yoga philosophy class, and then I started thinking about that and extrapolating it and thinking, okay, if that's the case, then whatever we create is part of us. Whatever anyone else creates is part of them. So we can understand each other through that. So, you know, that was something that took me kind of, that was one of those things that like sticks with you and you know, mull over and mull over and mull over. So that's basically where I'm going with that. Anyway, all right, we don't have much time left. So has anybody got anything to say that they haven't gotten a chance to say? Do you have?
Hey, Richard,
Yes.
just for giggles, why don't you Google highest rates of domestic violence?
Sure, I'll be happy to.
And
Highest.
where? Around the world or just in New York City?
Yeah. Should I say in America or
Say community.
community?
But if you just leave it at highest rates of domestic
Okay,
violence.
let's see what
you'll
that
probably
brings
be
up.
fine.
All right.
Or who has the highest rating?
Ethiopia.
Wow.
Up to 2/3 of women in certain
They slaughter people out there, so.
Logo state are victims to domestic
That's-
violence. Okay.
Try community.
Okay. Hi. Try.
Well, yeah, and what is your reason for asking that question? Do you want to make a point?
Well, there's a point that most people wouldn't believe if they didn't see the studies. Lesbians have the highest rates of domestic violence,
That's surprising.
and
I would-
straight couples are
It's because they need some dick, that's why.
second. And
Oh, stop! They're escaping the
Gay men have the
male-dominated.
gay men have the lowest rates of domestic violence.
Look up rates of domestic violence among lesbians. Look
Okay.
that up.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't have time. You got 10 seconds.
Oh
We
no!
go over all
the time.
Yeah, you don't have to
We got
broadcast.
30
you can still-
seconds.
Here it is.
The CDC also states that 43.8% of lesbian women reported experiencing physical violence, stalking, or rape by their partners. The study notes that out of the 43%, 2/3 reported exclusively female penetrators. Wow, that's pretty interesting.
So there are creepy girls.
Oh, no, I know.
Absolutely.
I know there's creepy girls. I never said there were creepy girls. Okay, this has been really swell, guys. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, Tom, for being the engineer and being my son. All right.